Imagine being fired from a newspaper for lacking creativity. Imagine watching your first company crumble into bankruptcy. Imagine being told that a mouse would never work as a cartoon character because it would terrify women. Now imagine becoming one of the most influential creators in entertainment history. This is the true story of Walt Disney, a man who transformed every rejection letter into rocket fuel for his dreams. Today, you're about to discover how one of the most beloved brands on earth was built on a foundation of failure, persistence, and an unshakable belief that magic was possible. What you're about to hear will change how you view your own setbacks forever. Walter Elias Disney was born on December 5, 1901, in Chicago, Illinois. His childhood was far from the fairy tale worlds he would later create. Growing up on a farm in Marceline, Missouri, young Walt developed a fascination with drawing and sketching the animals around him. But his early life was marked by financial struggles and a demanding father who saw little value in artistic pursuits. Despite this, Walt's passion for art never wavered. At just 7 years old, he sold his first drawings to neighbors, earning a few extra pennies while dreaming of something bigger. When Walt was 16, he dropped out of high school to join the Red Cross Ambulance Corps during World War I. He spent a year in France, driving an ambulance that he had decorated with his own cartoon drawings. After the war ended in 1919, he returned to America with big dreams and very little money. He moved to Kansas City and landed a job at the Pesman Rubin Commercial Art Studio, where he created advertisements for newspapers, magazines, and movie theaters. It was here that he met O.B. Works, a talented artist who would become his longtime collaborator. But Walt's tenure at the art studio was short-lived. In 1920, he was laid off due to lack of work. Instead of viewing this as defeat, Walt saw it as an opportunity. He and iWorks decided to start their own company called iWorks, Disney Commercial Artists. The venture struggled from day one. They couldn't secure enough clients, and within just 1 month the company folded. Walt was forced to take a job at the Kansas City Film Ad Company, creating primitive animated advertisements. It was during this time that he became fascinated with animation and started experimenting with a camera, learning the technical aspects of bringing drawings to life. In 1922, while still working at the Film Ad Company, Walt founded Laugh-O-Gram Studio. He hired a small team of animators and began producing short animated fairy tales. The films were charming and innovative for their time, combining live action with animation. They received positive reviews from local theaters, and for a brief moment, it seemed like Walt had found his path to success. But poor business management and a contract dispute with a New York distributor left the studio drowning in debt. By 1923, Laugh-O-Gram Studio declared bankruptcy. Walt Disney was 21 years old, broke, and sleeping in his own office because he couldn't afford rent. Most people would have given up at this point, but Walt Disney was not most people. With $40 in his pocket and a suitcase full of drawing materials, he boarded a train to Hollywood, California. His brother Roy was already living there, recovering from tuberculosis, and Walt convinced him to go into business together. In a small uncle's garage, they established the Disney Brothers Studio in October 1923. Walt struck a deal with a New York distributor to produce a series of live-action and animated films called the Alice Comedies. The series was moderately successful and kept the studio afloat, but Walt knew he needed something more original, something that would set him apart from every other animator in Hollywood. In 1927, Walt and his team created a character called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. The character became quite popular, appearing in 26 cartoon shorts distributed by Universal Pictures. The studio was growing, hiring more animators and producing content at a steady pace. But in February 1928, Walt traveled to New York to negotiate a better contract with his distributor, Charles Mintz. What happened next would become one of the most devastating moments of his career. Mintz informed Walt that he had hired away most of Disney's animation staff and owned the rights to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Mintz offered Walt a reduced fee to continue working on the character he had created, or he could walk away with nothing. Walt refused the deal and left the meeting having lost his character, his staff, and what seemed like his future. On the train ride back to California, heartbroken and furious, Walt began sketching. He drew a character that would change everything, a mouse. Originally named Mortimer, the character was renamed Mickey at the suggestion of Walt's wife, Lillian. Mickey Mouse made his debut in 2 silent cartoons that failed to find distribution, but Walt refused to give up on his mouse. In 1928, he produced Steamboat Willie, one of the first cartoons with synchronized sound. The film premiered at the Colony Theater in New York on November 18, 1928, and became an instant sensation. Audiences were mesmerized by the animation and sound working together in perfect harmony. Mickey Mouse became a cultural phenomenon, and Walt Disney finally had his breakthrough. But even with Mickey's success, Walt faced constant rejection when pitching his bigger ideas. In the early 1930s, he announced plans to create the first full-length animated feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Industry insiders mocked the project, calling it Disney's folly. They said audiences would never sit through an animated film that lasted more than an hour. Critics predicted financial disaster. Banks were hesitant to lend money for such an untested concept. Walt mortgaged his house and poured every resource he had into the production. His staff worked tirelessly for 3 years, creating over 2 million individual drawings. When Snow White premiered on December 23, 1937, it silenced every critic. The film became the highest-grossing motion picture of its time, earning over $8 million during the Great Depression. It proved that animation could tell emotionally powerful stories that resonated with audiences of all ages. Walt Disney's career continued with groundbreaking achievements. He produced classics like Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi, each pushing the boundaries of animation and storytelling. In 1955, he opened Disneyland in Anaheim, California, creating the world's first modern theme park. Many said it would fail, that families wouldn't travel just to visit an amusement park. But Disneyland became one of the most visited destinations on the planet, revolutionizing the entertainment industry and creating an entirely new form of family entertainment. Walt's vision for Disneyland was so detailed that he insisted on walking through the park himself, observing guest experiences and making continuous improvements. Walt Disney received 59 Academy Award nominations and won 22 Oscars, more than any individual in history. He created a legacy that includes some of the most beloved characters and stories ever told. But what made Walt truly remarkable wasn't just his creativity, it was his resilience. Every time he was knocked down, fired, rejected, or told his ideas were impossible, he got back up and pushed forward. He transformed failure into fuel, using each setback as a lesson that brought him closer to his ultimate vision. Walt Disney once said, "All the adversity I've had in my life, all my troubles and obstacles, have strengthened me." You may not realize it when it happens, but a kick in the teeth may be the best thing in the world for you. He understood that rejection wasn't the end of the road, it was simply part of the journey. His story teaches us that success isn't about avoiding failure. Success is about refusing to let failure define you. It's about believing in your vision even when nobody else does. It's about turning rejection letters into blueprints for greatness. Walt Disney's journey from a bankrupt animator sleeping in his office to a global icon proves that your current circumstances do not determine your future potential. The next time you face rejection, remember the man who lost everything multiple times but never lost faith in his dreams. Your breakthrough might be just one more attempt away. If this story inspired you, hit that subscribe button right now and join our community of dreamers and doers. Smash the like button to help spread this message of hope and resilience to others who need to hear it today. Drop a comment below telling us about a time you turned rejection into opportunity. We read every single comment and love hearing your stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next inspiring video. Remember, every great success story includes chapters of failure. The question is, will you keep writing your story? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.